Glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. We're reading from Caitanya Caritamrita, Adi-lila, chapter 13, verses 30 through 32, and maybe more. Javedaka tai kohe koho Krishna nam. Krishna name bhashailo navadipagram. Jare, whomever. Deke, he sees. Tare, to him. Kohe, he says. Koho, speak. Krishna, the holy name of Lord Krishna. Krishna name, by the holy name of Lord Krishna. Vashaila was inundated. Navadvip, place of the name Navadvip. Gram, village. Translation. When Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu was a student, he asked whomever he met to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In this way, he inundated the whole town of Navadvip with the chanting of Hare Krishna. Purport. The present Navadvip Dham is but a part of the whole of Navadvip. Navadvip means 9 islands. These 9 islands, which occupy an area of land estimated at 32 square miles, same as Vrindavan, are surrounded by different branches of the Ganges. In all 9 of those islands of the Navadvip area, there are different places for cultivating devotional service. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam there are Nava Vidha Bhakti, 9 different activities of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Parasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. There are different islands in the Navadvip area for cultivation of these 9 varieties of different devotional service. They are as follows. 1. Antardvip. 2. Shimantadvip. 3. Godrumadvip. 4. Madhyadvip. 5. Koladvip. 6. Ritudvip. 7. Janudvip. 8. Modadrumadvip. And 9. Rudradvip. According to the settlement map, our ISKCON Navadvip Center is situated on the Rudradvip island. Below Rudradvip and Antardvip is Mayapur. There, Sri Jagannath Mishra, father of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, used to reside. In all these different islands, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, as a young man, used to lead his Sankirtan party. He thus inundated the entire area with the waves of love of Krishna. Text 31, I guess it's there also. You can chant with me. Kishore Vayase Arambila Sankirtan Ratadine Preme Nitya Sange Bhaktagan. Translation. Just prior to his youthful life, he began the Sankirtan movement. Day and night, he used to dance in ecstasy with his devotees. So verse 32, you can say with me. Nagare Nagare Brahme Kirtan Korya Pashailo Chibhuvan Prema Bhakti Diya. The Sankirtan movement went on from one part of the town to another as Lord wandered everywhere performing kirtan. In this way, he inundated the whole world by distributing love of Godhead. Purport. One may raise the question how all 3 worlds became inundated with love of Krishna, since Caitanya Mahaprabhu performed kirtan only in the Navadvip area. The answer is that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. The entire cosmic manifestation results from the Lord's first setting it in motion. Similarly, since the Sankirtan movement was first set in motion 500 years ago by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's desire that it spread all over the universe, the Krishna consciousness movement, in continuity of that same motion, is now spreading all over the world. And in this way, it will gradually spread all over the universe. With the spread of the Krishna conscious movement, everyone will merge in an ocean of love of Krishna. So wonderful, beautiful verses with Krishna's name. Krishna's name is there, and ISKCON's name is there too, very interestingly. Mukam karati vachalam pangam langate girim yakipantoham vande si guruntinatarinam. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tassamai Sri Gurave Namaha. So I'd like to go back to verse 5 for several reasons. But one reason is that this verse will help us to understand the verses we read today. So I'm going to read that verse. Jaya Shri Caitanya Chandra Bhakta Chandragan Sabar Prema Jyotsnaya Ujjala Tribhuvan. It's also talking about spreading Krishna consciousness in all over the universe. All glories to the moons who are devotees of the principal moon, Lord Chaitanya Chandra. Their bright moonshine illuminates the entire universe. So Prabhupada talks in the purport about many moons. Among stars, I am the moon. And Krishna is like the sun. So Lord Chaitanya is also like the sun. And he's also like the moon. And Nityananda is also like the moon. And so in the beginning of Caitanya Caritamrita, it describes how Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are like the sun and the moon. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Saharita Gauradai Pushpantao Chitta Shandatamonudao. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Shri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and the moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Gauda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance, thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. So then, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, just like the sun and the moon, and dissipate the darkness of the external world, like the moon, today is full moon. So today's Purnima, so at night you won't see so many stars. When the moon rises, the stars kind of vanish. So the stars are less important than the moon. But the sun comes, and when the sun comes up, then you can, Caitanya Caritamrita says, it reveals external material objects, like pots and plates. But the moon, the sun of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, when they come into your heart, they dissipate the darkness of the innermost core of your heart. So there might be a bit darkness if you look in your heart. Might be some darkness there. How to get rid of it? Bring Gaura-Nitai into your heart. That will help. So what happens? If you bring Gaura-Nitai into your heart, then they help you meet two kinds of Bhagavatas. The book Bhagavat and the devotee Bhagavat. Two Bhagavats. And what happens when these two Bhagavatas come in your heart? They help you get bhakti. The book Bhagavat and devotee Bhagavat give you bhakti. These are verses from Adi-lila, chapter 1. This is described. What's happening when Gaura-Nitai come into our heart? We get the Bhagavatas, and they give us bhakti. And what happens after we get bhakti? We control Krishna. Krishnadas Kaviraj says. So, yes. So, also this purport of the fifth verse. Krishna Surya Samaya Hoy Andaka Jagishta Nahi Maya Adhikar. So, Krishna is like the sun. And he dissipates the darkness of Maya. And Krishna is also described like the sun in that he is impartial in distributing the light. The sunlight goes to the house of the poor man, to the house of the rich man. The sun goes to the ocean, it goes over the rocks, it goes to the hills. The sun is impartial in distributing his rays. So Krishna is also equal to everyone, and his mercy is open for everyone, and we just have to take advantage of it. If we close our doors, close our windows, and keep ourselves in darkness, then that is our decision. Or if we keep on our iPhones, our mobile phones the whole day, That might also be another form of darkness, unless you're using it for devotional service, of course. And that is there. That is there. So Prabhupada gives the example. If you keep your the sun to your back, then you're just going to see a long shadow of your body, black shadow. So, but if you turn towards the sun, then you won't see the shadow. So the shadow is like this material world, and the sun is like Krishna. So if we turn our face towards Krishna, we won't see Maya. So that's why Prabhupada named his magazine Back to Godhead. You look towards God, everything is light. Where there is God, there is no nations. Prabhupada gave an interesting example, because he was in the airplane a lot of his life, flying here and there. So he said, if you fly west in the morning in an airplane and keep going, you'll never see the sunset. So if you keep yourselves always in Krishna consciousness, you will have Krishna's mercy. And I did experience this example of Prabhupada. I left India in the morning, going to Ireland. So my first Gayatri I chanted in India. My second Gayatri I chanted in Germany. And in the third Gayatri I wanted to chant in Ireland, but the sun just wasn't setting. I thought, okay, 7 o'clock, no, 8 o'clock, no, 9 o'clock, no, 11 o'clock. When the plane was landing and the sun was setting, it was, they're very high north in the summer, very far north, and the sun doesn't set. And even if you go to Sweden, it's even worse. It doesn't really set. And they call it the land of the midnight sun. There's one day where they celebrate where the sun doesn't set. But it doesn't really set anyway. It goes below the horizon, but it's still like twilight the whole night. If you go to sleep in Sweden, yeah, and that's where I got in the habit of covering my eyes every night. So anyway, it's good. So Nityananda is like the moon. Lord Chaitanya is like the sun. There's a verse in Bhagavatam describes the material body, and it's described that we are meant as a spiritual being to hold the sword of knowledge, Jnana Sim. And Achyuta Bala, where do we get the strength to hold the sword of knowledge? Krishna gives us the sword of knowledge. And who helps us, who gives us the strength to hold the sword of knowledge? Balaram. So we need both Krishna and we need the help of Balaram for strength in spiritual life. If we're feeling weak, pray that we, of course you have Nitai, you have Balaram too. Yes, you have both. Well, you have Balaram and Nitai here. So you can pray to them. So the verse says, as long as one has to accept a material body, this is 7:15:45. As long as one has to accept a material body with its different parts and paraphernalia, which are not fully under one's control, one must have the lotus feet of his superiors, his spiritual master, and the spiritual master's predecessors. By their mercy, one can sharpen the sword of knowledge. And with the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's mercy, one can conquer the enemies of lust, anger, greed, and so on. So Krishna gives us the sword of knowledge. We have the sword of knowledge, but we might not have the strength to hold it. That takes a lot of mercy and strength of Nitai and Balaram to continue in devotional service. And not only that, we have to sharpen the weapon, Prabhupada says, by serving the spiritual master and following his instructions. So in that purport, Prabhupada says, Krishna gives us a sword of knowledge. When you serve Guru and Krishna, then Balaram gives you the strength. So Balaram is Nitai. There's a song, Brajendra Nandana Jay Shachi Shuta Hoyoshe Balaram Hoylo Nitai. So Balaram, Nitai comes with Lord Chaitanya, and he's very, very more merciful than Lord Chaitanya. More merciful than Lord Chaitanya. In this age of Kali, Prabhupada was in the mood of Nityananda. He was more merciful than Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. So they come to save us. And these verses are talking about worldwide Krishna consciousness and even universe-wide Krishna consciousness. Very, very interesting. I can tell you a recent story because there were a marathon. In India, too, we had a book marathon. Here, I think you had a book marathon also, distributing books. So in India, in Tirupati, holy place, one man died, and they were carrying him on a stretcher to the crematorium. And all of a sudden, he got up, and everyone started running, "Ghost, ghost!" He said, "No, it's me, I'm back." And so then he said, "Yeah, Yamadutas took me to Yamaraj." And then Yamaraj looked at me and he said, "You got the wrong guy." And they sent me back. But before I became conscious, the Yamadutas said to me, "Go to ISKCON and get Bhagavad Gita as it is, and you won't see us again." So this is a story that happened recently during the book marathon. And the caption, the title of the story, "Even the Yamadutas are helping us distribute books." So, yeah, the whole universe, this is spreading. Even the Yamadutas are aware of the power of Bhagavad Gita as it is. And so it's going all over. There is proof that it's going all over the universe. And so, yeah, here it's talking about the mercy. We can't get the goal of life without the mercy of Nityananda. And then Prabhupada was talking about many moons again in that purport. And he said that we need many moons. Chanaka Pandit says, better to have a qualified son than hundreds of fools. And then he said, Eka chanda tamohanti na chatara sahasraso. If you can create one moon, better than millions of stars. So try to create at least one Krishna conscious person, then there is hope of at least peace. My son, when he was 5 years old, he says, I really don't want to die. Okay. So if you just make one person Krishna conscious, then you don't have to die. And he tried to preach to his teacher, who was a Christian. Anyway, it's true. Prabhupada said, just make one man, one pure devotee. One person Krishna conscious. Just let one man understand Bhagavad Gita as it is. Prabhupada said, we don't want many disciples. I never collected disciples. I never compromised, do whatever you like, become my disciple. I had one guru like that before Prabhupada. He said, chant the mantra morning 10 minutes, night 10 minutes, and then in the rest of the day, do whatever you like. And in 6 months, you'll become God. And if you don't become God, you'll at least get liberated. Well, it didn't work. I tried. Then I met the devotees, and they said, if you follow this process, chant, dance, eat, you will see God. I said, yes, I want to see God. I don't want to be God. So yes, this is very, very helpful. Prabhupada wanted many, many moons. He said, what is the use of millions of stars? If you have millions of stars, nobody cares. But when the moon rises, that's what people are waiting for, the moonrise. Especially, we have our Dina Bandhu. And yes, they do Govardhan Parikrama on the full moon day, on certain full moon days. And I actually did that twice. The problem is, the moon comes up on one side of the mountain, and you're just blind. You can't see anything on the other side. So, and you start on the other side, and after 15 minutes, I realized I can't do this. But I did it because my small son was on a cart in front of me. And I was following that cart because I didn't want to let my son out of sight. So when I get to the other side of the hill, then the moon was there. So, it's kind of risky. You can't see anything. Like, it's really, really dark. We didn't have cell phone. We had flashlights, torches, but anyway. So Prabhupada said 95% may remain non-Brahmana, but 5%, if they are strongly Brahminical, others will follow. And that's another way to understand. I just want one moon. I just want one moon. And so again, he said that modern civilization is godless. It's going in the wrong direction. But if a percentage, I heard also 1%, if 1% of the world becomes Krishna conscious, it's enough to bring world peace. He said, if I create one moon, that is sufficient. I don't want many stars. What's the use of having a number of fools and rascals? If one man understands rightly, he can deliver the whole world. And so that was Prabhupada's instruction. And then he said in this purport, we therefore wish all the devotees of Krishna consciousness movement may reflect the Supreme Sun and thus dissipate the darkness of the entire world. And this also, in this verse we read today, 32, since the Sankirtan movement was first set in motion 500 years ago by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire that it spread all over the universe, the Krishna conscious movement, in continuity of that same motion, is now spreading all over the world, and in this way it will gradually spread all over the universe. So yeah, Prabhupada thought big. In 1966, he made the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It was just a handful of hippies in New York, in a storefront, International Society. His vision was big. He saw big. And now he's talking about the, intergalactic society for Krishna consciousness. The whole universe is going to be members of ISKCON someday, or at least Krishna conscious, somehow or other. So in the Adi-lila, 9th chapter, it's talking about the spreading of Krishna consciousness. And it's described that Lord Chaitanya planted a tree of, desire tree of devotional service, of bhakti, here in this planet. And he was the gardener. And he was also, and the plants grew, and he was eating the fruits. He was also distributing the fruits. And not considering who asked for it, who did not, who was fit, who was unfit, he distributed the fruit of devotional service. It's for everyone. Doesn't matter what kind of body you have, what country you have. He said even a child can take part in this, and even a dog can take part in it. And we have seen some dogs take part in it. When I was in Ukraine many years ago, 1998, we had a festival in a park. We stayed there for about a week. And there were many dogs in that park. And most of them were just doing what dogs do. But there's one dog who was coming for Mangal Arti. And he was like dogs go like this. On 400 pair of shoes, he was offering his dandavats. And he would follow the Harinam party whenever we would go around. So yes, even a dog can take part in it. So there's no excuse that you're not qualified. Everyone, it doesn't matter if you're qualified or not. Just like one devotee, he was having some problem with other devotees. He was a leader, actually. And he told Prabhupada, he went to see Prabhupada, and there's some controversy about him. And he said, Prabhupada, I'm just not so qualified to be with you. And Prabhupada said, qualified or unqualified, I love you still. So that was Prabhupada. He loved us. So in the purport of that verse about not considering who asked for it, who did not, Prabhupada said, this is the sum and substance of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. There is no distinction made between those who are fit, those who are not fit to hear or take part in the Sankirtan movement. It should therefore be preached without discrimination. The only purpose of the preachers of Sankirtan movement must be to go on preaching without restriction. That is the way in which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced the Sankirtan movement to the world. So then the next verse, the transcendental gardener, Lord Chaitanya, distributed handful after handful of fruit in all directions. When the poor hungry people ate the fruit, the gardener smiled with great pleasure. Lord Chaitanya thus addressed all the branches and sub-branches of the tree of devotional service So this is for us. We're a branch. Prabhupada said, ISKCON is a branch. That probably you heard that in one of the previous chapters. I think that's 9th chapter of Adi-lila. So he says, I'm the only gardener. How many places can I go? How many fruits can I pick and distribute? So Prabhupada says, the distribution of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra should be performed by combined forces. Combined forces. Although he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he laments, how can I act alone? How can I alone pick the fruit and distribute it all over the world? This indicates that all classes of devotees should combine to distribute the Hare Krishna Mahamantra without consideration of time, place, or situation. So then, Lord Chaitanya gave an order, and that includes us. So listen carefully. Here's the order of Lord Chaitanya to each and every one of us. Therefore, I order everyone in this universe to accept this Krishna conscious movement and distribute it everywhere. You're supposed to distribute this Krishna conscious movement. So Prabhupada describes in that purport the Krishna conscious movement introduced by Lord Chaitanya is extremely important because one who takes to it becomes eternal, being free from birth, death, and old age. People do not recognize the real distresses in life are the 4 principles of birth, death, old age, and disease. They are so foolish, they resign themselves to these 4 miseries. Yes. I was traveling to Gangotri, and we were staying in one guest house. And the man said to us, problems are a way of life. You just accept it. Yes, we have to accept problems. That's a way of life. That's life in this world. So people, they resign themselves. I have to get old, I have to get sick, I have to die. Prabhupada says they are so foolish that they resign themselves to these 4 miseries, not knowing the transcendental remedy of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Yeah, simply by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can become free of all misery. But because they're enchanted by the illusory energy, people do not take this movement seriously. Therefore, those who are actually servants of Lord Chaitanya must seriously distribute this movement all over the world to render the greatest benefit to human society. The fruits, then Lord Chaitanya speaks. If the fruits are distributed all over the world, my reputation as a pious man will be known everywhere, and all the people will glorify my name with great pleasure. Of course, that is a prophecy that is happening right now all over the world. Lord Chaitanya's name is being spread. So Prabhupada says in the purport, this prediction of Lord Chaitanya is now actually coming to pass. The Krishna conscious movement is being distributed all over the world through the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And people who were leading confused, chaotic lives are now feeling transcendental happiness. They're finding peace in Sankirtan, and therefore they are acknowledging the supreme benefit of this movement. This is the blessing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His prediction is now factually being fulfilled. Those who are sober and conscientious are appreciating the value of this great movement. So again, another order is there. Bharata Bhumi Tehoilo Manushya Janma Jar Janma Sarta Korikoro Pora Upakar. Whoever is born as a human being in the land of India should make his life successful and work for the benefit of others. Now, 5,000 years ago, this whole world was called Bharatvarsha, and it was confirmed. And it was ruled by Yudhisthira, the devotee of Krishna. So actually, we are in Bharatvarsha, technically speaking. Mahabharata is the history of Bharatvarsha, the history of Greater India. You'll find descriptions of many different lands in Mahabharata, not just India. So, yes, Prabhupada was on a morning walk in Vrindavan, and he was taught, the devotee said to Srila Prabhupada, it seems Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread Krishna consciousness in India, but he left the rest of the world for you. And Prabhupada said, and for you. So yeah, that's our legacy from Srila Prabhupada. We're meant to spread it all over the world. So I think I could stop here, or I could read more. I guess I'll go to 8:50 until the next purport. Yeah, I'll just read the verses that have no purport. Chabishachar Chinabadvipa Grame Lalayo Sarvaloke Krishna Premaname. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived in Navadvip area for 24 years, and he induced every person to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and merge in love of Krishna. Chavishachar Chila Koriya Sanyas Bhaktagana Loya Koila Nila Chalevas. For his remaining 24 years, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after accepting renounced order of life, stayed at Jagannath Puri with his devotees. Taramadi Nila Chale Chai Vachar Nityagita Prema Bhakti Dana Nirantara. For 6 of these 24 years in Nilachal, Jagannath Puri, he distributed love of Godhead by always chanting and dancing. Setu Bandhu Aragora Vyapi Vrindavan Premanama Pracharya Kaila Praman. Beginning from Cape Comorin and extending through Bengal to Vrindavan, during the 6 years he toured all of India, chanting, dancing, and distributing love of Krishna. E Adi-lila nam lila mukyadham sheshash tadashavash adi-lila nam. The activities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his travels after he accepted sannyas are his principal pastimes. His activities during his remaining 18 years are called Adi-lila, or the final portion of his pastimes. Taramati choy bachar bhaktagan shange prema bhakti lawala nityagitarange. For 6 of the 18 years, he continuously stayed in Jagannath Puri, regularly performed kirtan, inducing all the devotees to love Krishna simply by chanting and dancing. So then the verse for next week will be verse 39. So I'll stop here if there's any questions, comments.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class, very nice. That comment about the holy name spreading all over.
Right.
In 1976, Prabhupada was visited by his godbrother, Sri Maharaj. And they spent a couple of hours chatting with each other. After Sri Maharaj had gone back to his mud in Navadvip, I went into Prabhupada's room. I was eager to hear, or to see whether Prabhupada would share something of his discussions. So Prabhupada was smiling, and he said that Sri Maharaj had said that this verse, Prativite Chaitanya Caritamrita, we actually didn't take that literally. We thought that all over the world, every town and village, how could that be? Maybe it means just in India. And it was just like a poetic glorification of the holy name. But we never actually thought that it would be done literally. He said, but now I can see that you've done it. He said, therefore I consider that you are the real Acharya.
Wow. Yes. Prabhupada did it.
Yes.
And the Leela is still going on. It's still spreading all over the world and all over the universe. Yeah. Yeah. I could tell one more far out story about how it's in the again the Yamadut is in the universe. I could tell one more story. I heard about in Siberia, a story that happened in Siberia, and So Bhagavatam class, somebody was giving Bhagavatam class, and 2 guests came. And the guests, after the class, they said, "Oh, very nice class. Yes, our master sent us to listen to the class." And so the temple president, he said, "So who's your master?" They said, "Okay, we'll let you know in a few days." And so the devotee was chanting japa, and all of a sudden the wall dissolved, and he could see some beings there, a couple of beings. And they were beautiful beings, but their eyes were dark, and he couldn't see their eyes. And so he asked them, "So who are you?" He said, "We are the Yamadutas." "So I thought you were supposed to be ugly." He said, "No, if you're a devotee, you won't see us like that. But because you still have a little bit of covering there, that you can't see our eyes properly." So then he asked them some questions, I don't remember. But he glorified, the Yamadutas glorified his guru, one of our present gurus. And he said he's really doing nice work in preaching. And I won't mention any names. But so then, as they were going away, they showed him his because the devotee said, "But I'm following Srila Prabhupada, so I shouldn't see you guys." And they said to him, "You do not know Prabhupada. Who is Prabhupada? Whole universe is worshiping Prabhupada." So that was another pharaoh. The Yamadutas had a picture of Prabhupada in their airplane or whatever they travel in. So that was another story about interesting stories about Yamadutas. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
I have a little dog story from here.
Yeah. Oh, there's a story from here. That's far out.
Years ago, we used to have a dog here. He was called Hari Ram.
A what? A devotee.
His name was Hari Ram.
Hari Ram. Okay.
And the devotees had painted tilak on him. He was an Australian breed called a Kelpie. He was an Australian breed of dog. The dog was, anyway, he was a Kelpie, that's the breed.
Oh.
Anyway, so the devotees had painted tilak on him. So whenever you'd see him, there was this dog with tilak on.
A dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
And somehow or other, like you sort of wonder how can a species understand this, but somehow or other, he'd picked up the idea that when he would approach you, he'd pick up a straw.
Oh.
So he'd come to you sort of laying down flat with a straw in his mouth.
Whoa. Wow, that's what, yes, I think Prakashananda Saraswati advises that. Not Prakashananda Saraswati, Prabodhananda Saraswati, how you should preach, very humbly. Well, yeah, there was a dog in Ireland who had natural tilak, and they called him Tilak. He ran away from his owner and would come to the temple all the time to be with the devotees. Yeah, and he would also offer his obeisances to the devotees. The owner was really frustrated with that dog because he wouldn't stay home. He would come and eat prasad and be with devotees. Yeah, there are examples. And Prabhupada did say that these pets of the devotees, the animals who are with devotees, they were fallen devotees in last life, and they made some big offense. They had to come back. But in this life, they don't make any offense, and they just eat prasad, do devotional service, so they have a good chance to go back to Godhead. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Yes?
Is there any way you can be reprimanded from...
Okay, wait for the microphone.
Is there any way you can be reprimanded in this life from offending the devotees?
Pardon me?
Is there any way you can be forgiven for offences towards the
Forgiven for offences. Yeah, you have to approach the person who you offended and beg forgiveness. And if they don't forgive you, then you have to try to do some service. And if they don't forgive you, you have to do mentally and mentally pray for them and and beg forgiveness. Yeah. Yes, you can be in this life. You can be. If you make offense to deity worship, when you worship the deities, Tulsi Arti will counteract it. There's 10 offenses to chanting, and you counteract all of those by going to, like Vaishnava Aparad, and you have to go to the devotee who you offended. If you offended the books, you have to glorify the books. There's each one of them. You can, and the best thing is to do the opposite. Like, don't do the offense. Glorify the devotees, glorify the books, glorify the holy name, and avoid the sinful activities. You do positive alternative to the offenses. And if you have offended someone, you need to go to that person and beg forgiveness. A lot of devotees, before they die, they ask forgiveness for all their offenses. And I've seen people post on Facebook too, please forgive me. And Prabhupada did that before he died too. To his godbrothers, please forgive me for my offenses. I was a little heavy in my preaching. He was heavy with his godbrothers. In the books, it's in the books. Caitanya Caritamrita. So, any other questions or comments? Okay, Jai Glory Shri Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada.